Bonjour tout le monde! Today we're talking about les verbes réfléchis or French reflexive verbs. Now, a reflexive verb, it is a verb whose infinitive starts with the word se. We have some examples, se brosser, se baigner, se réveiller. And these are verbs whose subject and object are the same. So that means that the person doing the action is also the person receiving the action. If we look at this example, Etienne brushes his hair. Etienne is both doing the brushing as well as receiving the action of having his hair brushed. So this is a reflexive verb. In French, we would say Etienne se brosse les cheveux. To use les verbes réfléchis, they have two parts. The first is a reflexive pronoun. These actually look very similar to our direct object pronouns. So we have me, tu, ce, nu, vu, and ce. And then you also just need your verb conjugation. With reflexive verbs, if it's a regular verb, you just conjugate it regularly. If it's an irregular verb, you just conjugate it irregularly. A lot of times our reflexive verbs are using verbs that we've already encountered, but just putting a se before them and making them reflexive. There are two steps. First thing, you've got to conjugate the verb according to the subject. Next, you need to change your se to the appropriate reflexive pronoun. We're going to see this in a table. All right, so we're going to start out with this verb se réveiller, which means to get up. It is reflexive because we see our se, and if we think about like getting up, waking up in the morning, you are both waking yourself up because you're coming out of sleep, and you're being the one woken because you're the one coming out of sleep. So it's a reflexive verb. You see, I have, for each of these subject pronouns, I have a reflexive pronoun, that's my first part, and my verb conjugation. For our reflexive pronouns, for the subject, je, our reflexive pronoun is me, or if our verb starts with a vowel, we'll use M apostrophe. Tu is tu, or T apostrophe. Il est long, ce, or S apostrophe. Nu, you actually just repeat nu again, so it's nu, nu. And then vous, repeat it again. And then il plural or elle plural, ce, or S apostrophe. Now for réveiller, réveiller is a regular ER verb. So we'll drop our ER and add our appropriate endings, and that will get us our verb conjugation. So we'll see we have je me réveille, I wake myself up. Tu te réveilles, you wake yourself up. Il se réveille, elle se réveille, on se réveille. He, she, or one wakes him or herself up. Nous nous réveillons, we wake ourselves up. Vous vous réveillez, you wake yourselves up. Ils se réveillent, they wake themselves up. Elles se réveillent, they wake themselves up. Okay? So you see that we've got our subject pronoun, which is always a part of our conjugation, our reflexive pronoun, which only happens with our reflexive verbs, and our verb conjugation. Remember that each subject pronoun has a different reflexive pronoun to go with it so that it makes sense. Because if I said, je nous réveillons, I would be saying, I wake ourselves up, which doesn't make any sense. So you've got to match the reflexive pronoun with the subject pronoun. Now note, if your verb is irregular, like this verb, s'en aller, it's going to use the same irregular conjugations as if it were just a regular verb. You're just going to add your reflexive pronoun. So if we see, for s'en aller, for the je form, it would be je m'en vais, I leave. If it's a stem changer, it's going to do the same thing. It's still going to stem change. You're just going to add the reflexive pronoun. For se lever, it is a E consonant ER verb. So it is going to be elle se lève with that E accent grave. Now, when you're using a reflexive verb with an object, so something like brushing your hair, you're still receiving the action that you're also doing, but your hair is involved, so it's an extra object. So you're going to use a definite article and put that object after the verb. So if we see Nadine brushes her teeth, Nadine se brosse les dents. So Nadine se brosse, it means Nadine brushes herself, but we're saying more than just brushing, she's brushing her teeth. Voilà. Here are some examples. Caroline se brosse les cheveux. Nadine se lave à 8 heures. Nous nous réveillons très tôt. Est-ce que tu te laves chaque jour? Oh, and that needs an S at the end, tu te laves. Il est évident qu'il se couche chaque matin. Se douche, pardon. Elle se coupe les cheveux chaque semaine. Now for your à bouffer, I have given you the subject pronoun, or the subject, and the reflexive verb. Now you're going to conjugate it according to that subject. Remember your two steps. You need to change your reflexive pronoun and conjugate your verb according to that subject. À bientôt!